Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons and Polar Craft Boats, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, Brenton USA Hunting Rifles, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show right here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. Have you figured it out by now? This is a radio show, and I'm proud to be doing a 3-hour Michigan-based outdoor-related radio show. You know, I've done a lot of different things in my career. I started out in television news, which was fine. It was wonderful. It was great. It was exciting. And it was, at the time, it was pretty fulfilling. And I thought, you know what, I'll probably spend my career doing this. But after you do it for a few years, I guess probably like any job, you know, I've never worked in any other business other than the outdoors and broadcasting, so I have no frame of reference other than my frame of reference. But I suspect that just about every job, after you've done it for a few years, gets a little bit old. And television news became really old, and I was very, very glad to be out of it and very glad to branch off into an outdoor television show. And that was a lot of fun. That was fulfilling. But, man, it got to be very expensive. And it was a lot of work, and it just didn't make sense after about 25 years. Imagine that. After about 25 years of doing it, it didn't make sense anymore. So I went over to the radio side of things. I'd been toying with an outdoor radio show while I was doing the television show. And through a series of events and God's intervention, it just became clear to me that television was not my future anymore than that outdoor radio was. And it's been a wonderful ride. I've been doing this for a long, long time now. I don't plan to retire anytime soon. I mean, you know, my plans are not the big guys' plans. I did get a little dose of reality the other day, though. I had set up my Michigan DNR hunting and fishing licenses for auto renew. And I thought, well, that's good. It's easy. I won't forget. I'll get my licenses. I got an email from the DNR the other day. They say, hey, Mr. Avery, we've canceled your auto renew. And I thought, what's that all about? Did I say something on the air to make the DNR mad? And they're going to prohibit me from buying licenses from now on? No, they wouldn't do that. I got an email from the DNR saying, we've canceled your auto renew because we we realized that you're turning 65 this year and you'll be eligible for a senior, I can't even say this, a senior discount on your licenses. So we figured you wouldn't want to auto renew at the higher rate when you can get a discounted rate. Oh. As a matter of principle, I might just refuse the senior licenses and buy the licenses at the regular price. No, I probably won't do it. I can still get my fishing licenses at a standard price, but when it comes time to get my deer tags in the fall, I'll be eligible for the senior discount. How did that happen? And no, I'm not retiring. Although I think some people would like to see me retire, that's not going to happen. So we're recording today. I'm recording the last show for the month of February. And just like last week, as we're here in the studio midweek, we're looking at a forecasted snowstorm. Now, will we get some snow? I suspect we will. But Mother Nature, you know, she's always in control. I love this, that in today's advanced and technologically advanced world, that where we have control over so many daily things, you know, we click our phone and it comes to life. We press the keys on the keyboard and their computer comes to life, or the iPad or whatever. You know, we have a world of immediate gratification these days. When you deal with Mother Nature and the outdoor world, that goes away. We no longer have control. We are at the mercy of something more important, bigger than we are, and I like that. I think it keeps a frame of reference that we all need. But even, regardless of how much snow or ice this storm brings, we are moving the right direction. I did finally see a dead skunk in the road, and that's one of my signs that springtime is coming. Still no red-winged blackbirds in my neck of the woods, but I'm getting lots of reports of those things from downstate. I do notice the geese on the pond in the backyard are getting ready for nesting season. They're becoming... If they can be even more aggressive and obnoxious, they're doing it right now. They're chasing each other around the pond. You can tell they're setting up their spots where they're going to nest. I do find this interesting that they nest in the same spots every year. They'll pick out the same spot on the side of the hill in the pond, and that's where they will nest. And they have for the last 8 years since we've lived there. But as more of those big flying rats decide they want to call the pond home, they start moving into other areas. I'm hoping that they'll finally just say, you know what, this isn't worth it, and they'll move on. I just don't. I get it. If you're a goose hunter, you love those critters, those creatures. But if you're me and they want to come up in the yard and make a mess, I have no use for them whatsoever. So probably in about another month now, maybe 6 weeks, it'll be time to put the goose fence up, the goose barricade, to keep those big flying rats out of the backyard. So what else is going on? Steelhead fishing across the state is really starting to heat up. I've had some beautiful pictures of folks fishing steelhead. That's a magnificent fish. Springtime steelhead in the rivers is just a riot. It's something I used to do a lot. I used to spend a lot of time up on the Ausable, from shore, in waders, in cold water, casting sometimes spawn bags, but little corkies, spinning glows with a bead above it. This is old school, right? This is a long time ago. Quarter casting upstream and letting it bounce along the bottom. That's a real art form. And even though I did it quite a bit, I never really became an expert at it. But you know me, I don't pretend to be an expert at any kind of hunting and fishing. But I then eventually discovered drift boats, and it was my buddy and my mentor, Pete Jonas, who taught me about these things. He said, hey, listen, why are we standing on the side of the river, freezing, dunking spawn or, plastic beads? Why don't we sit in a drift boat and work our way through all these holes that we can't reach from shore and put out some rods, with some crankbaits behind us and let the current do the work? So Pete would row and I would row, or we'd go out with a guide and they would run the boat. And man, did I find that was a very effective and efficient and fun and easy way to hook into beautiful springtime river steelhead. I haven't done that in a long time. In fact, I haven't done steelhead fishing or salmon fishing much at all since I kind of fell in love with walleye. They don't fight as much, but they're in my backyard, and that makes it easy to concentrate on those fish. So what else is going on? Outdoor Rama. I never know whether they say Outdoor Rama or Outdoor Rama, but it's Outdoor Rama is going on this weekend at the Suburban Collection Showplace in Novi. That's a mouthful. It used to be called the Novi Expo Center. Suburban Collection Showplace in Novi. I hope to make it down there this weekend. When will depend on the weather to see what happens. But if we're down there and you see me, hey, say hi. Love to see you. Shake your hand and shoot the breeze for a couple of minutes. Next Friday, the 3rd, I'll be at the First Baptist Church in Clare. An invitation from my buddy Bill Hahn of Jay's Sporting Goods. He's invited me to speak there. I'm looking forward to that. And, of course, next Saturday, March 4th, our big Trinity Monitor wild game dinner and auction. It is sold out. You can't get tickets for it. However, we will be doing several silent auction items online. So even if you're not at the event, you can join us there. I will have details on that next Wednesday night. This Wednesday night coming up for Wednesday Night Live. I'll give you the website and the details on how to be involved in that. Speaking of Wednesday Night Live, Wednesday night, March 22nd, we'll be doing another Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch. That's a Forward Corporation Lumberjack Restaurant. We have not done a Wednesday Night Live there since before COVID. So it's been a while. It's time to get back up there. I always enjoy our events there. We have a great turnout. Consider this your personal invitation. You will not need tickets to get in the door, but you will need reservations just to make sure we know how many people are coming. The Lumberjack does fit a lot of people, and we're looking for a great crowd there. That's Wednesday, March 22nd at 7 o'clock at the Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch. Love to see you there. My website is MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. I sincerely want to hear from you. Send me your comments, your questions, your criticisms, your Ask Avery questions to Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Coming up after the break here on this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show, Rich Chrzan of Killer Food Plots will join me to talk about the month of March coming up being the time to do some frost seeding of your food plots. Then Jason Graham of Linwood Beach Marina talks about a big event they're having there at the marina next Saturday. Then Tom Campbell of Woods-n-Waternews checks in as he's setting up for the Outdoor Rama show. In hour number 2, a story that's going to get your attention. It's from Vance Gawel. He talks about a pup that he gave to a guy. The guy abandoned the dog. Vance found out about it. The dog was running feral in the Pigeon River Forest or in the area there. Vance was able to trap that dog, rehabilitate the dog, went hunting with the dog, and they took a big Tom Bobcat. You're going to love this story. Kristina Kennedy of MUCC talks about their On the Ground program. And in hour number 3, Richard P. Smith is not happy with the DNR and the NRC's proposal to cut the number of Michigan bear tags this year. We'll talk about that and more. And, of course, we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. That's all coming up this week right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in St. Joe on WSJM 94.9 FM. You can hear us in Tawas on WIOS 1480 AM 106.9 FM twice each weekend. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Marquette on WDMJ 1320 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Michigan-made Rapid River Knives. I have a Rapid River knife in my pocket right now, as I always do. I would encourage you to check this company out. Family-owned, Michigan-based, handmade knives made by craftsmen at their shop just east of Rapid River on US 2. If you get a chance, stop by that showroom and check it out. It is absolutely beautiful. If not, go to their website, rapidriverknifeworks.us, rapidriverknifeworks.us, and you'll see what I mean. Folding knives, pocket knives, fillet knives, hatchets, axes, kitchen knives. If it's got a blade and an edge, the folks at Rapid River can make one for you. They can custom make it, or you can choose from one of their standard models. Go to the website, rapidriverknifeworks.us. That's rapidriverknifeworks.us. You know that I love to work with and promote Michigan-based family-owned companies. I've made no secret of that at all, including Killer Food Plots. Now, March is just around the corner here, right? And March is kind of thought of as the month when you might want to get a jump on your food plots and do something called frost seeding. Rich Chrzan is the expert on frost seeding and food plots and property management at Killer Food Plots, and he's with me now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line to talk more about this. Rich, welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm good. And yourself, Mike?
I'm doing real good. When I talked to you here a week ago or so, I said, Rich, are we crazy to start talking about food plots already this time of year? And you said, no, it's not too early to start thinking about it at all.
No, Mike. I mean, actually, you can start thinking about food plots for the next year while you're planting your food plots for the coming year. It's just, Michigan with the frost seeding, it's right now, probably until March 10th is a good time. Mother Nature has been kind of funky this year. We didn't get a real deep frost, but you don't really need that for the frost seeding anyway, because you just want the soil to seed contact to happen on the top layer.
So go back to basics, Rich. What is frost seeding? What are we doing?
So what you're doing is you're taking advantage of Mother Nature freezing the ground. So when you get into this time of year, the ground thaws during the day and it gets that moisture, it's real slimy on the top. And then at night it freezes. And when that happens, the frost actually pushes upwards and the ground expands upwards with the ice that builds. And then during the day, it thaws out, the sun hits it, it relaxes, and then it goes back down. It does this repeatedly throughout, February, March, even earlier this year. What that does is it allows the seed to make that ground good seed to soil contact, and it'll pull it into the ground a little bit just naturally, kind of like a sponge that swells up and goes back down, swells up and goes back down, and it'll just naturally pull that seed in. So it's a great way to spruce up your already existing plot. Some people will actually kill their plot off in the fall, so that way it's good and it's just dirt, and they will frost seed that if they don't have equipment. It's a great way to take advantage of Mother Nature. It's minimal work. It allows you to get into those tight spots in the woods. You can clear the leaves off, allow that to take the seed in, and with minimal work. It's just a great advantage to have for this time of year.
So do you think of frost seeding more as a maintenance practice for an existing food plot, or can you start a new food plot by frost seeding?
Yes and yes. I do mostly maintenance. So you can, like I said, you can establish a new clover plot with chicory in it. If you know what area you want to do, as I stated a minute ago, you can just kill that off in the fall. So that way you have a good dead blanket to start with. And then you can just do your normal rate, a half acre, one bag does a half acre. So you just go with normal rate. Like I'm getting ready to maintain my existing clover. They've been pounded by browse this year because we haven't had snow. So it's been available and the deer have been taking advantage of that. So I will go and I will half rate seed that. So I will do a half a bag on a half acre. And I will usually use I'm redoing my chicory, my clover. That's real popular. It's a real good seed, both of them. They're great for the frost seed. And I'll just go through, hit my bare spots a little harder, but just go over the whole plot with that half a bag. Some people like to do it when there's a blanket of snow on the ground because the seed is so small. It's hard to tell how it's dispersing. So they like to have some snow on the ground so they can go out there and see that they're getting it evenly coated. Myself, I like to see where the bare spots are. I've done it both. It works great doing it both. Just don't get too antsy and do it too early in the season. Like I said, the last 2 weeks of February, first 2 weeks of March is usually ideal. The sun comes out early February, people get antsy, but if you put that seed down too soon, it will mold and it will rot. And you won't get the production out of it.
Does it have to be for frost seeding because of the process itself? Does it have to be something that is a pretty small seed? You couldn't use a bigger seed for frost seeding, could you?
So you can frost seed, red clovers, white clovers, chicory, oats, wheats, and rye. Those are all, and alfalfa. Those are all frost seedable because the temperature of the soil is not that critical for those. You get into your corns and your soil has to be 50 degrees, and they like that to be 50 degrees for 2 to 3 days consecutive. Sorghum, which is in one of our blends, our Border Patrol, that, the ground has to be 65 to 70 degrees. So there are seeds out there, sunflowers, you can't seed those, you can't frost seed those. So there are some seeds that can, and then there's quite a few that can't. So all our bags, they have right on there whether they can be frost seeded or not. So it makes it pretty easy when you're shopping. You can frost seed brassicas. I don't generally. I like to plant those in August. But you can do like the deep woods and the leaf of oats. All those are great for frost seeding.
You've got so many different seed blends and so many different options out there, Rich. And you kind of answered this, but I'm going to follow up on it. How do I know what seed to put in? Where do I start?
Well, it goes by location. If you're going to be doing frost seeding in the woods, something that's not going to get, hardly any light, then you would want to look on our bag that states on there, like our deep woods. That'll grow in 2.5 hours to full sun. Lethal winter oats, those will grow with just side sun, like filtered sun coming through a field edge. Excuse me. And all that's right on our bag. and on our website, and it'll state what can be frost seeded, what can't, the hours of sun that it requires, the soils that it's good in. All that is stated right on our bags and right on our website.
This whole process of food plots and property management, this concept, I should say, it's amazing to me how big this has become. Michigan hunters have really embraced this.
Yeah, they have. It's amazing how much time and money people will spend on doing food plots. And, I find a lot of it becomes a family thing. It's everything I've always done outdoors has been a family thing. So I find a lot of customers, they want to do this. I started out doing food plots because I wanted to make the area better for my daughters coming up so they could have opportunities that I didn't have. And it's worked out great. They help me on the food plots. They help me with the business. And they get to reap the rewards of, mature deer and seeing them and enjoying the outdoors. So I see a lot of that family thing, kids getting involved and making a generational thing. And that's cool because it brings that back to hunting the way I was brought up in it,
Yeah. Let's go beyond frost seeding. And we'll have you back on the show again to talk more about this as we get closer. But so we're frost seeding now if we can. Then what's the next step in this whole process of putting in springtime food plots?
Soil samples. That's where everything starts. Get your area picked out, get your soil sample. You can get those on our website also. You can get those, get them sent out, get it to our lab. That usually, once they hit their counter, it's turned around in 24 to 48 hours. And start planning, start getting that fertilizer list, start getting them prices. I hope they don't fluctuate that much more this spring. I don't think they will. And then, maybe this plot that you thought could grow a clover, it might not be suited for that. So with minimal soil amendment, you might want to go with soil building, a crop duster or a lethal winter oats for that first year. But yes, it's all in the planning right now. Plan. That's what I'm doing for a lot of people right now.
And you talk about picking your spots. What are we looking for? Where is a good place, a good spot on your property for a food plot? Or can that not even be answered? Does it vary so much from property to property?
No, I always like I call them little kill corners. You find that field that's not perfectly square and you have that edge where the farmer maybe is going down and he's hitting a bottom, a low spot going up and down the hill. Deer feel secure in those areas. So if you can, pull that little section from that farmer and he allows you to do what you want with a food plot, those are awesome areas to do that in. Openings in the woods, you can create your own openings. Like I say, we've got seed that'll grow with side filtered sunlight from the side. So your limitations really are only on how much work you want to put into what you're doing. You can make a food plot pretty much anywhere. I like doing my trails in the fall. All my trails I run to do whatever we do throughout the season. I'll drag the leaves off, and I like to do lethal winter oats in the fall. It just keeps them out there. Will it produce a ton? No. But will it stop the deer for a little while? Yeah, it will. They will overbrowse it. They'll kill it before the end of October. But it gives me that whole time to keep them on my property.
Gotcha.
So,
you were talking about. I was just thinking about this. As you were talking about, any opening in the woods, I'm thinking, well, you got trails and 2 tracks through your property. What a perfect place to put in a food plot. All right, listen, Rich, we're out of time for this visit, but I appreciate you reminding us about frost seeding, and let's get you on in another few weeks as we get closer to the full blown springtime food plot planting season.
That sounds good, Mike.
All right, Rich Chrzan of Killer Food Plots, Michigan-based, family-owned Killer Food Plots. The website, killerfoodplots.com, killerfoodplots.com. If you go to that website, you can see the different products that Rich is talking about. And I do appreciate the fact that on their bags and on the website, there is a real good description of how you might use this product and where, because it can be overwhelming and intimidating for beginning food plot folks, well, Killer Food Plots can help you out. They're also a great product to work with if you're a seasoned veteran on food plotting as well. KillerFoodPlots.com. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll see what the folks at Linwood Beach Marina have planned for next weekend. It sounds like you might want to be there. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Caro on WKYO 1360 AM and WIDL 92.1 FM. You can hear us in Flint on Sports Extra 1330 WTRX. And north of the bridge in the Sioux on News Talk 1400 WKNW. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Michigan-based Boning Archery, a leader in the archery industry since 1946. They continue to be a leader today. Check out their website, boning.com. That's BOHNING.com. As I hit the Turkey Woods this spring and head up into Ontario on my springtime bear hunt, my rig will contain boning products. Boning.com. While you're online, please check out my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Then head on over to LinwoodBeachMarina.com. Obviously, the website of Linwood Beach Marina, a place that I love hanging out there. They're in a great location, great facilities, and great people. And they've got a pretty cool event coming up next weekend. Captain Jason Graham of Send It Charters and Linwood Beach on the phone line with us now to talk more about that. Cap, welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm good. How are you this morning, Mike?
I'm doing great. So tell me what you got going on.
So we have put together a show atmosphere, get together with some captains, get together with the public, and we're going to talk boating and fishing for the day. We've got some topics, we thought about is a lot of guys don't know which trolling motor to use or upgrading their trolling motor or putting a kicker motor on these boats for Saginaw Bay. Autopilots and electronics and the new Panoptics and LiveScope. And a lot of that stuff is out there in the public. They can see online and YouTube, that kind of stuff, but we're going to do it in person.
And that's Saturday, March 4th at the marina, right?
At the marina, right in the showroom, absolutely, yes.
What's the reason for this, Jason? I mean, obviously, is it spring fever type thing? Hey, people are just they're anxious. Let's give them a reason to get together and talk fishing.
Absolutely. We have no ice. We have very few guys ice fish this winter. Saginaw Bay is known for the ice fishing, the crowds and stuff. We're not quite boating season. We got one dock in the water now and guys can get out, but it's just that intermittent season between ice fishing and boating, and guys are getting anxious. They want to get their boats in the water. Now is the time to think about getting that spring boat ready, batteries, and getting that boat ready to go for the summer trolling season here, especially in Saginaw Bay, the inland waters, that kind of stuff. But all the newest, latest, and greatest stuff's out in the market, and guys want to see it firsthand in person. We're going to show everybody on Saturday, March 4th.
Who have you got speaking?
Myself, Captain Jeff Godey's going to be here, Captain Mark Pianzak, Captain Bobby Sullivan. For those of you who remember Bobby Sullivan, he was the one that caught the new state record king salmon on a weighted steel. All those kind of topics we're going to talk about here as far as how to set your boats up. What each of us captains do a little bit different than everybody else, but we all do it for a certain reason. One guy does it this way, one guy does it the next, and the public can decide which works best for them, how to run their planer boards. A lot of customers I talk to on a daily basis, they run 2 or 3 boards aside. Us captains will run 7 aside. There's a reason we do it and why we do it. We can help the public with that. Get your rods and reels lined up, whether it's line calibration or what line you want to use for it, baits, crankbaits, planer boards, trees, not trees, downriggers, not downriggers. Just an open forum, kind of a captain's roundtable type event. Sit here, ask questions, and have a good day about it.
Man, if you're interested in Saginaw Bay walleye trolling, this sounds like a good event to be at.
Absolutely. Free of charge, open to the public. Our doors open at 9 a.m. We're going to start topics probably around 10 a.m. and probably go to 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Bring the kids, have fun. We have new boats in the showroom to show everybody. And like I said, if you're thinking about maybe a motor upgrade or an autopilot, maybe you want to stay married this year and not have to be yelling at the wife about driving the boat wrong. We'll talk about autopilots, whatever it takes for the guys that have questions about their boating and fishing needs.
Well, the guys at Angler Quest told me, Avery, once you fish with an autopilot, you can never go back, and that's true, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's probably my number one electronic on Saginaw Bay, or most of my trolling is my autopilot. I set it, and I walk away from it. The boat goes straight, and I have to worry about it the rest of the day. So,
I find it interesting, too, that Saginaw Bay walleye tactics and techniques are continuing to evolve. Captain Jason Graham, you're a big reason for that. You continue to push the envelope, but we've gone from, big skis and Hottentots to something a lot more these days.
A lot more. There's so many things in the market, whether it be baits or just the way we present the baits, from the lines. Lead core was big around here for a long time, and weighted steel is kind of taking over that market now, where I have a line that's the same density with less line in the water. And so instead of putting a 3-color out, I'm only putting 60 feet of weighted steel in the water. Creates less tangles. It's easier to deploy, easier to reel in. It won't fail on it. The steel itself is the only way it's going to fail on is if you get stuck in the prop. It doesn't want to knot up. I can spool it off on the floor and spool it back on the reel.
Ooh, I like that.
Mono is a great product. Don't get me wrong. It has its purposes. I run all braid, and I run braid because I can put the same bait in the water with less line out, a little more action, and get the boat and get the line back in faster when a customer has a fish on. And it's more durable. Lasts me a couple seasons. I'm not replacing it all the time. So there's lots of ways and changes and things in that to help these guys, produce more fish at a quicker pace. If I can go out and catch fish in 3-4 hours versus 5-6 hours, it's a win-win for me and my customers.
And these are the type of topics you guys will be talking about Saturday, March 4th at Linwood Beach Marina. You say the doors open at 9, Cap?
That doors open at 9. We'll have open discussion. We'll have guys come in and start talking this and that. But we'll start like an open captain's forum. There might be 2 or 3 of us standing up front, asking questions, throw it out to the crowd, that kind of stuff. What exactly do you guys want to know? What don't you know? And we'll jaw jack back and forth, and not really be a sit down seminar type, but it'll have that atmosphere. By all means, ask questions. If you don't know, ask. This is the place for it.
That sounds like a great event, and hopefully here Mother Nature will cooperate, and everybody will be back on the water here sooner than later. I
sure hope so. Yeah, like I said, we got one dock in, a little cold spell coming here the next couple days, but it looks like boating season's right around the corner.
Captain Jason Graham of Send It Charters and Linwood Beach Marina, appreciate you letting us know about this. This is Saturday, March 4th. Doors open at 9. Some great speakers, some great topics. You might want to be there. The website, linwoodbeachmarina.com. That's linwoodbeachmarina.com. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll wrap up this opening hour with Tom Campbell of Woods-n-Waternews. He's going to be at the Outdoor Rama Show this weekend in Novi. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Traverse City on WTCM 580 AM. You can hear us in Sandusky on WMIC 660 AM 95.3 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Newberry on WNBY 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Suspension Max. If you want to lift your truck or level your truck to give it a better look, to allow for bigger tires, to give you more off-road clearance, I highly recommend Suspension Max. I've had them do 4 vehicles now, maybe 5 each time. They've done a great job, and I've been real happy with the work. Check them out online at Suspension Max, and it's MAXX, suspensionmax.com. Tell them the big guy sent you too, by the way. All right, now I want to turn our attention to Tom Campbell of Woods-n-Waternews. Woods-n-Waternews, Michigan's premier outdoor publication, in my opinion. They've been a staple in the outdoors here in Michigan for more than 3 decades. Tom Campbell, one of the guys behind the scenes and one of the guys responsible for the success of that publication, with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Tom, welcome. How are you?
Just great, Mike. Appreciate it. Yes. So things are going well.
And you're going to be at Outdoor Rama this weekend, right?
We are, absolutely. I just heard your promo. We'll be here the whole time. We got Saturday and Sunday to go, and it looks like it's a great show. So encourage everybody to come on down and stop by our booth and give us you can stop by and talk to us, give us a tale or two, and we appreciate that.
And if I remember right, too, at the consumer shows, you routinely have past issues available, and you can sign up for subscriptions too, right?
That's right. Absolutely. We give out free back issues that we have extra, and we also discount our regular price for our subscriptions. We give them a show special of $25 for a year, so it's a great deal, and we sure do appreciate anybody that stops by our booth. That's for sure.
$25 a year. That's like a little more than $2 an issue for that great big full color publication.
You are great at math, Mike. That's
No, I'm not.
absolutely right. Yes, it's a great deal. You got it. Absolutely.
Boy, that honestly, though, that really is a great deal when you think about what you guys are getting, the information you put out, the entertainment you put out, plus the fact you've got a hard copy that you can keep on the coffee table, keep at the hunting camp, keep in the bathroom, whatever,
right.
for years and years to come.
Right. Yeah, absolutely right, Mike. You said it. Everybody keeps thinking, well, paper's kind of dead, isn't it? I go, no. You got to come to Michigan, and you got to see. Everybody loves that physical copy, like you said, sitting on the coffee table, maybe in the bathroom, maybe up at the cabin, and it gets passed around and passed around and passed around and read and then reread, which is really cool. So, yeah, we love it.
Well, I think newspapers are dead, but you guys at Woods and Water have proven that there is you've got a niche, and for you guys, it's working and has been for many years. And Tom, I hope and pray it continues on for many years, and I don't see a reason why it won't.
Absolutely, Michael. We're with you on that. We're just going to keep going and going. And like I said, I think there's a little bit of a trend, a different turn, and people are certainly enjoying it. And we speaking of the consumer show sitting here, we see the young people that they're buying subscriptions now too. So there is definitely a turn. So. And so many parents and grandparents buying up for their younger kids, because they love to look through the Woods and Waters news. So it's a great deal, and we're so excited to be a part of it.
There is, though, for folks who want it, there is also an online subscription, or in addition to the printed copy, right?
Right, very popular to get both, because then you always got a reference to go back to if maybe somebody snuck away with your last issue or whatever. But yeah, combinations, you can get a combination at our website for $35. That gives you access to, I believe we have 7 or 8 years of archives on the website for them to go back through. And also it gives you the options of the current issues too as they come out. And you get the physical copy in the mail. So it's a great deal too.
Speaking of current issues, what is in the current issue?
Hey, we've got a dandy, Mike. We've got a great one. The cover's got a 15.5-pound walleye taken out of Muskegon Lake. So, and a great story to go with it. These guys that fish it, it sound like a great bunch of guys and serious about what they do. So I think you'll want to pick it up with that. And of course, we found another big buck, and he's on the cover, and a good story inside on that. And it's loaded with, we got some unique stories this time. We're taking the food plot a step further. Darren Potter's doing a great piece. Of course, food plots help all wildlife, the habitat, but he's doing a little more specific for turkeys. He's a big turkey hunter. He loves turkey hunting. So he's kind of got a good piece in there to give you some tips on how to persuade turkeys to come to your food plot. But, of course, deer and other wildlife are going to come too, so that's always good. And we've got a unique piece by our retired CEO, Jeff Pendergraft. It's an incredible story, Mike, on poaching of a gentleman that admitted to a state cop of killing over 1,000 deer.
Jeez.
And we've got the CO's investigation on that, kind of a step-by-step or what they did to investigate this. And it's truly incredible. And it's incredible on one point, and it's sickening on the other part. So, but it's such a good one. It's a two-parter. So we got part one in the March. We'll have to go to April to get that part two.
Well, I will look forward to seeing that. My mind is still thinking about that 15.5-pound walleye too. So all good reasons to get the latest issue of Woods and Water News. Tom, have fun at Novi. I hope folks will stop by and see you. Tom Campbell of Woods and Water News, the website woods-n-waternews.com. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back in hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine show, Vance Gawel tells a great story about a hunting dog that he had. He gave it away. The person abandoned it. Vance was able to get the dog back. It's a great story coming up at hour 2 of Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons and Polar Craft Boats, The Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, Brenton USA Hunting Rifles, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to our number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network, heard on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. Yep, this is the radio show, all right. First and foremost, it is a radio show, and I think the best way to listen, if you can, is on your local AM or FM station. For a lot of reasons, including the fact that your local radio stations will get the content of the show before I upload the podcast version of the show. And I know this is something that bothers me more than it does you. I hear from people routinely, hey, I was listening to your podcast over the weekend. I say, oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Where'd you listen to it? And they'll give me the call numbers of their local radio station. I'm like, well, that's not really a podcast. That was a radio show. I know it doesn't matter to you, but it does to me. And I guess only because there are so many different podcasts out there these days. And it's a term that's become ubiquitous. Anything you hear, any audio you hear, you're thinking it's a podcast. And everybody has a podcast. Everybody has a podcast. And there are some great ones out there. But I like to make the distinction that this is first and foremost a radio show, because there aren't very many statewide syndicated outdoor radio shows on the air here in Michigan. But there is a podcast version of the show. I put the podcast out on my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. It's on my Facebook page. It's on Amazon Music. It's on Audible, Twitter, LinkedIn, Apple Music, Google Play, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Player FM, Deezer, Odyssey, even YouTube, and more. Anywhere that you can hear a podcast, you can hear the podcast version of the Outdoor Magazine radio show. So I'm not against podcasting at all. I love podcasting. In fact, each month I do podcasts specifically for some of my partners, including Offshore Tackle, Angler Quest Boats, Polar Craft Boats, and Primal Outdoors. And when we're done here in the radio studio today, we will record this month's Primal podcast, talking with Michigan hunter Charlie Wiltsey about his deer hunting adventures this past season and looking forward to the upcoming turkey season, which is something I am very much looking forward to. Regardless, though, of how you're hearing my voice or when you're hearing my voice, I do certainly appreciate it. I've been doing this a long time. I have no plans to call it quits. I have no plans. We'll see how the world unfolds in front of me, but I have no plans to call it quits, and I wouldn't be able to do this without your support. So I do truly appreciate that very much. As I like to say, one of the best reasons for doing this show is the people that I get to talk with. I get to talk with and pick the brains of so many interesting and knowledgeable outdoors men and women, hunters and anglers and shooters and trappers, primarily here in the great state of Michigan. One of the guys that I have really enjoyed having conversations with lately, his name is Vance Gawel. Vance is a very, very interesting guy. He's a houndsman from northern Michigan, an avid hunter, a great family man, a farmer, and just an all-around good guy. And he's with us now. Once again, Vance, welcome back to the show. How are you? Oh, Vance, are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay. How you doing, Vance?
Good. Everything's good. Just moving some snow this morning, getting ready for the next batch to come in.
Now, you're way up. You're like at almost the tip of the mid, aren't you?
No, Gaylord.
Oh,
Just
Gaylord.
a little bit east of Gaylord.
Snow belt.
Yeah.
Vance, you sent me a story that I shared on my Facebook page, and it got such a wonderful reaction that I wanted to give you the chance to share it here with the radio audience as well. And it goes back to a pup that you gave to, I'm going to call him an acquaintance. Tell me this story again, if you would, Vance.
Yep, I will. It really blew up when you posted that picture. And actually, to start off with, I'm getting a lot of requests for this guy's name, like messages, and I'm not going to dox anybody. He's had his time in court. It's been taken care of. Everything's settled. The story's great. I'm just going to go from there and talk about the dog. So it started out, this was the summer of 2021. I had a litter of puppies, And I probably have a litter of puppies every year, and I don't sell dogs. I give them to friends, acquaintances, people I know. And this pup was born in July of 21. And I'd given him to a fella that I hunted with a group he was in. I hunt with a lot of people all over the state. This group needed one, so I gave him a pup. And that was that. Hunted the rest of the year. And then the new year rolled around, January 2022, and I was on a Facebook page on the east side of Northeast Michigan, Welcome to Atlanta Facebook page. And I started seeing trail cam pictures of a dog, and I could tell it was a young dog. It was a hound with no collar on, and he was eating on people's coyote baits. People are posting the picture saying, hey, seeing this dog, must be lost. And I looked at that dog, and I said, geez, it's really familiar looking. The breeding that I hunt, it's not my breed. I get dogs from houndsmen that have supplied me with great dogs over the year. And then I have litters out of the same blood. And they have a specific look to them. They're kind of ticked up, little black spots, And I started looking back through photos. I felt like there was a good chance that was my breeding. And the location where the pictures were taking place, north of Atlanta, up by Clear Lake, so there was a really good chance this could be one of my old dogs. And I did. I found a picture on this person's Facebook page from like a week before, and he's holding the dog. He was coyote hunting, and he's holding that specific dog in the picture. Matched up perfect. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I sent him a couple of text messages. Hey, whatever happened to that young pup that I gave you in the summer? Because at that point, he was only 7 months old. I mean, there's no reason to do anything with a dog that age other than have them out and about. They're not going to most likely prove anything what the future holds. You're just going to experience being handled and whatnot. So his return text was, I gave him away. I was like, okay. Well, who'd you give him to? Because I guess I'm jumping ahead. When I give these puppies away, I say, if you don't want them anymore, it's not working out, please give them back to me. I'll handle it. I don't want to just send dogs down the road to rot on chains the rest of their life if somebody doesn't like them. So I said, well, what's this guy's name? I'd like to get a hold of him. I don't remember his name, he said. And I said, okay, well, I know this isn't what happened. I know you released the dog. The dog doesn't have a collar on. The dog doesn't have a GPS collar on. So he never replied to me again. At this point, I knew a CO over in Montmorency County, and she had already been following posts on that Welcome to Atlanta Facebook page. So she knew of it, the story. And I said, well, this is the actual story, and this is the dog, and I have all this proof, pictures. I took screenshots of everything, sent her all that information. She contacted him. He admitted it, went through the courts, so we'll move on from that. So now my goal was to find this dog. And this group that there were people who were posting pictures of, it was like people from all over the state, little cabins, coyote hunters with coyote baits, little old women sending me messages. I seen pictures here and there. And I can't tell you how many people let me go on their property and track this dog. I was always a day or two behind. From the day he was let go until the day I caught him was about 4 weeks. It was January, and it was a cold January last year. Never hit above freezing, single digits every night, and it was rough. So this dog, this 7-month-old pup, is getting on security cameras. You got people all over Northeast Michigan trying to catch him, and he turned wild. I mean, they would say they'd call for him, and he'd turn and run. And for 3 weeks, I didn't even put out a live trap. I had a large live trap. I didn't put anything out. I just tried to catch up to him. I tracked him quite a few times. I had some other people from the area watching out and trying to get him. We were close a few times. He ended up being way north of Atlanta is where he started, up by Clear Lake. He worked south. He almost went back to where he came from, and then once he got close to where he came from originally, I turned up the heat because I didn't want the guy getting back to him. And I heard that he was trying to find him after he realized he was in some trouble. So we made it past there. We went quite a bit longer, and then he started showing up in people's backyards, and he was eating sunflower seeds of bird feeders. Dog was eating bird feeder food. And people would send me pictures, and he was just skin and bones, hips sticking out. He was in bad shape by this time. Had an older couple way south of Atlanta at this point. From start to finish, as a crow flies, it was roughly 14 miles from where I started tracking him to where I caught him. They had him coming into their bird feeder, and they were putting out meat scraps. And it's the first place he came back to more than one day in a row. So we started hitting that place every night. They would turn the doorknob to call him, and he'd run. So,
hang tight. Listen, Vance, hang tight. I'm enjoying this story, but I got to take a break. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, we're going to hear the rest of this story from Vance Gawel. It's a great, parts of the story are bad, but most of the story is great on how he gave a pup to a buddy. The guy abandoned the pup, but Vance was able to get the dog again. We'll hear the details on how he did that and the end result after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Alpena on WZTK. That's 105.7 FM. You can hear us in Battle Creek on WBCK 95.3 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Iron Mountain on WMIQ 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Michigan-based Whack-'em and Plack-'em, a very cool and unique way to show off your trophies. Use them for shoulder mounts, European mounts, even fish. For details, check out the website, nontypicalinnovations.com. That's nontypicalinnovations.com. Check out that website, see what they have to offer, and if you can, if they serve a need for you, always do business with Michigan-based family-owned companies. That's my recommendation. Whack-'em and Plack-'em, nontypicalinnovations.com. I'm talking now with Vance Gawel. He is a very hardcore outdoorsman and a houndsman from northern Michigan, the Gaylord area. Before the break, he was talking about a pup that he had that he gave to a guy. He found out the guy just abandoned the pup. So now Vance has spent a lot of time tracking this pup down. So Vance, pick up the story where you dropped it off, or where we had to take a break here. The last I remember is they were somebody was feeding meat scraps, and the pup was coming into this, but they couldn't get close to him, right?
Yeah, this was the final house, and this was the first place where he'd stayed for more than one or two nights. So I met him, and I had a large live trap, and I set that day, and it was like 12:30 in the morning. My phone rang, and I was like, well, I caught him. I knew it. And it was the gentleman that let me set the trap, and he said, that dog's out there making a ruckus. He's in your trap. So I grabbed my it's actually the guy I guide help with, Preston Castleman. He come over. We drove over there, and we got the dog. He was crazy, though. I mean, you couldn't even hardly touch the cage. He'd come unglued. And it wasn't even like a bark or a howl. He was like screaming. It was bizarre. He turned totally wild. So it felt bad for him, but we put him in the back of the truck because it was just insane. And in the cage, took him back to Preston's house in the cage, because he had a place where we figured we were going to need to take him inside. His pads were raw and blood, and he didn't have any nails left. They were bloody and gone. Porcupine quills in his neck and in his face, and like I said, he had no meat on his bones. He was just about done. And got him in the house, got him cleaned up. Preston's girlfriend, really good with animals, and she was able to clean the dog up. He'd let her finally. He'd kind of run from us in his house, but took some time. I left the dog there. He's had him ever since that night we brought him home. He's kept him at his house because it was a pretty special situation. You weren't going to be able to put him in a dog kennel and leave him. He needed to be around people every day. and be taken care of. And that's what they did to him. And then we started taking him bear hunting last summer, and he showed a lot of promise. He liked running bears. It was tough for anybody other than Preston or his girlfriend to catch the dog when we were running him. He's running bears. He started getting used to me because he'd be around me a lot more. By then in the summer, I could catch him. Fast forward here till cat season opened up, and just kind of had a plan that we can see what he could do, single him out, let some other people run some of my good cat dogs. They're in other places with friends. And Preston walked this dog on a few cat tracks, put time in, and last weekend I just got back from the Dominican Republic. Before I left, I had a big tom on a bait on camera, of course, the day I flew out. Came back, and it was about the same thing about 2 days later, I think, and had a really good tom and some really good conditions. And it really didn't take much. It just clicked finally, and here we are. It's a pretty neat story, and his name turned out to be Tough, which worked out pretty good because that was a tough month. That 7-month-old puppy was stranded out looking for anything to eat in the woods. So,
man, so how long was that pup out there in the wild?
From the first picture I saw with the date on it to when I caught him, and then the picture before he was released, he was pretty solid 4 weeks.
I can't even imagine up there in that North Country. I can't imagine what that dog went through.
And it was a cold January last year too, because I remember that it was just always we never hit freezing during the day, and it was always teens and single digits at night. Yeah, it was a tough month, but you made it barely. But
well, a pretty tough dog just to make it.
Yeah, that's hence the name. I figured that would work out well.
So what's his name? What do you call him?
Tough. Yeah. So he's got the good life now. He's living, like I said, with my friend Preston. They take care of him well, and he's got it made.
So when you went over to the house and got him in the cage, you said he'd gone wild. What do you mean by that?
He was trying to bite us. Didn't want us anywhere near him. You could not let him go when we got him back, like outside of a house, without a tether or something. I mean, you wanted to leave. Didn't want to be around people at that point. I don't know. I think 4 weeks was long enough for him being on his own. And I think a lot of people, when they try and catch him, would kind of chase him a little bit. And I don't think that made anything better. But
yeah.
What can you do? People are just trying to help.
So he turned into a great dog, though.
Yeah. A lot of promise. I mean, this will be his second summer coming up in the Bear Woods. And, that cat last weekend was all alone. No other dogs, start to finish. So,
yeah. And I understand you don't want to get into details. I get that, but the guy who abandoned the dog, he did get in trouble for that, right?
Oh yeah. Yep. Went to court, convicted, all that stuff. Yep.
What is it?
It's all been handled.
What is it about the relationship with you houndsmen in particular and your dogs? I mean, it's all dog hunters that I know have a special relationship with the dog, but you houndsmen are something else.
I don't know. It's hard to explain. I guess I really can't. Just started with my dad having dogs and grandpa, and here we are. So it just kind of burnt into your brain. So.
What's it like? I mean, I understand coyote hunting and bear hunting with dogs. Bobcats, I don't have any frame of reference there. What is that like?
It reminds me of like running snowshoe hares with beagles. Big circles. The cats don't just run straight out of the country and go for miles. Either start them off a bait. I've got baits on private land all over east, Atlanta, Hillman. And you're either doing that or looking for a track in the snow. And at some point, the dogs will jump the cat, get close enough where the cat's running, and the cats just do circles, and you kind of call it twist them down. Circles get tighter and tighter and tighter, and eventually the dogs will either bay it on the ground, or the cat will go up a tree. So it's a lot more low impact. I do it with my dad alone, 1 or 2 dogs. I don't have a huge pack. Some people do, but it's not my style. We never shotgun them like people with coyotes when they cross the road or something. You're shotgunning coyotes. We let the dogs do the work, catch the cat, and that's it.
And you're more in it's thicker country for the most part, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of cedar swamp stuff. Most of my baits are in cedar swamps. It seems like you always end up around, rivers, lakes, low ground for sure.
The picture I saw of that cat, he looks like a pretty good size one.
Yeah, we never weighed him, but it's your pretty typical end of February rundown Big Tom that's skinny because he's been looking for girlfriends for the last month or so. So a lot of miles on those cats this time of year.
And is that season just about wrapping up now?
Yeah, end of February here. That'll be it. So this big snow that we're about to get will make it really nice for the last weekend here.
So as a time we're recording this show, then how many cats did you run this season?
Oh, we've just worked with the one with the young dog. That's the only cat we've killed. We run a few, quite a bit, but
yeah. I think people would be surprised, Vance, at how many bobcats we have in this state.
Oh yeah, normally on my baits I've got pictures every night. This year's been different. I haven't had the really good bait action like I have in the past, but yeah, they're pretty common up here, anyways.
So, would you rather run bears or coyotes or bobcats?
I have no interest in coyotes. I love running bears. There's just something about catching a big bear or walking up to a tree with a great big bear in it. I like big bears.
Do your guy, when you run bears, do you have to have a hunter with you who has a license or not?
No, I mean, training season starts in July 8th and then runs until whatever kill season starts for whatever region you're in. And then we have to have a participation license once it's kill season if we don't have a particular kill tag for the area we're hunting in. But yeah, you can.
So if the DNR cuts back on the number of bear tags, that's not necessarily going to hurt you guys at all, because you can still run them.
Most hound guys will tell you that they want the DNR to cut back on tags. That's the difference between the bait and the hound guys. The hound guys, we want a bunch of bears, which causes issues for other people. But we want a bunch of bears so we can continue to run them. Most hound guys are more catch and release than anything,
Yeah. Well, Vance, listen, I appreciate you sharing that story. It's a great one. I'm hoping that you brought me back some good cigars from the Dominican Republic, and I look forward to seeing you at the Trinity dinner coming up Saturday, March 4th. I understand you're coming downstate. I'll look forward to talking to you.
Yep, it'll be fun. We got tickets, and should be a good time.
All right, Vance, I'll look forward to that. Appreciate the story, and always enjoy talking to you. Vance Gawel. Hey, Vance, you still there? What's the website for you and your guiding service or your Facebook page?
Oh, yeah, it's C as in Castleman, CNG guideservice.com, CNG guideservice. Not .com.
On Facebook, CNG Guide Service. There we go. Facebook. All right, Vance, appreciate that. CNG Guide Service on Facebook. And if you want to hear the story as Vance wrote it and see a picture of the big cat and this dog, Tough, I've got it on my Facebook page. I suspect Vance does as well, and a lot of people were very interested, so you can find it. Just do a search, and you'll find the pictures and the story. We'll take a break. When we come back, Kristina Kennedy from MUCC on their OTG program. Welcome back to Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the show on more than 30 stations across the great state of Michigan, including Big Country Gold, WCBY in Sheboygan. That's 1240 AM, 100.7 FM. You can hear us in Houghton Lake on 98.5 WUPS. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Escanaba on WCHT 600 AM 95.3 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Killer Food Plots. I had Rich Chrzan of Killer Food Plots on in the first hour talking about this is the time to start frost seeding, or very soon start frost seeding your springtime food plots. If you are interested in food plots, frost seeding, maintaining your plots, starting a new plot, property management, I strongly suggest you get in touch with Rich and the folks at Killer Food Plots. Their website is killerfoodplots.com, killerfoodplots.com. Don't wait till the last minute, though. I know from past experience the guys will get busy, real busy. So get on their schedule now, killerfoodplots.com. I want to turn our attention now to MUCC, Michigan United Conservation Clubs, a group that I am a member of. By the way, a couple of weeks ago, we had Amy Trotter, who is executive director of MUCC, on my Wednesday night live show. It was a good show. We had lots of questions, a lot of great interaction. And Amy will join me 3 more times this year, once a quarter. And I'll give you details as we get closer to that. This time around, though, Kristina Kennedy, who is their on-the-ground coordinator, joins me. Kristina, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing just fine. So listen, I was reading a little bit of your background online, and you've got a very interesting background. How did you end up at MUCC?
Oh, I ended up at MUCC. I ended up in Lansing, actually, first. And then I found MUCC just searching for jobs, honestly. So it's been great being here. I'm about a year into the job right now.
And on the ground, actually, I think is celebrating, 10 years in the works now?
Yes, we are celebrating our 10-year anniversary of the program, and we'll also be hosting our 200th Habitat Project this year.
Wow. Big milestones while you're in charge, Kristina.
Definitely. It's exciting.
So on the ground, remind us what this program is all about.
Yeah, so On the Ground, or OTG as we like to call it, is our statewide volunteer-based habitat improvement program that's funded by the DNR Wildlife Division. And really our goal is to just provide opportunities for the public to volunteer and actively participate in conservation on public lands. So we really care about fostering relationships between volunteers and their public lands, and helping to build the bridges between hunters and non-hunters.
So what kind of projects do you guys work on?
Yes, we have a wide variety of projects. Just this past weekend, we were in the Maple River State Game Area working on wood duck box installation. We have a couple events coming up in March. We've got some shoreline and aquatic habitat improvement. We've got invasive species removal and brush pile building.
What are those March events? Where and when?
Yeah, so on Saturday, March 4th, we'll be up in the UP at Autrain Lake working on improving aquatic habitat. So volunteers are welcome to join us in building brush bundles that will be deployed into the lake to create fish habitat. And then on Friday, March 24th, we're actually kicking off MUCC's annual convention with an OTG project at Edmore State Game Area. That's in Montcalm County, and we'll be removing invasive autumn olive and creating brush piles for small game habitat, which is actually one of OTG's most popular winter projects.
Small game habitat, which we often call what? Rabbitat. I love that word.
Rabbitat, yeah.
So how do we sign up?
Yeah, so volunteers can get more details and register for these projects online at mucc.org/ontheground.
And how much work? I mean, do I have to be a wildlife biologist? Do I have to be 25 years old in great shape? Are you going to put me to work? How does this all work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of my favorite parts about the OTG program is that we welcome people of all ages, all different backgrounds, different abilities to get out and enjoy their public lands and just help play an active role in managing those habitats to benefit wildlife.
You know, I have had people say, Avery, I hear you talk about this OTG and the MUCC is helping out DNR. They'll say, well, why doesn't DNR just do this? I mean, that's what we pay those folks for, but I think you're kind of filling a niche, aren't you?
Definitely, yeah. So a lot of these projects take a lot of people to get them done in a decent amount of time, So we're able to help those biologists get a lot of work done. And volunteers over the past 10 years, they've actually helped improve more than 3,500 acres of wildlife habitat, which is also an amazing milestone.
Oh, it is, Kristina. I appreciate you letting us know about this. Good work on these projects, and keep it up, and we'll talk again.
Thank you so much.
Kristina Kennedy of MUCC, the website MUCC.org. That's MUCC.org. Talking about the OTG, the On the Ground project. If you want to volunteer for one of these, or at least learn more, go to the website MUCC.org and search for OTG or On the Ground. I used to say, if you want to save 25% on your MUCC membership, use the promo code Mike. But on our Wednesday Night Live with Amy Trotter, we were thinking, you know what? It's so cheap. It's so inexpensive anyway. And MUCC can use the money for so many different things. They are a member-funded group. Why use the promo code and save like $7 when you could take that $7 and put it into a good cause, right? So just go to MUCC.org, MUCC.org, and think about signing up or volunteering for the On the Ground, next On the Ground project in your area. We'll take a break. When we come back, the Ask Avery segment. I'm still thinking this one over, but I think I've got a direction we're going to head. And then in our third hour, we're going to talk about bears, bear numbers, and bear permits with Richard P. Smith. And, of course, we'll wrap it up with Chef Dixie Dave Minar. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Muskegon on WKBZ 1090 AM. You can hear us in Lansing on WILS 1320 AM. And north of the bridge in Manistee on WTIQ 1490 AM 95.3 FM. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you each week by my friends from Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. You know by now, but I'll give you a quick reminder. The way the Ask Avery segment works is this is your chance to get involved in the content of the show. You can ask me a question, something that you want me to answer directly, or something that you would like me to pass along to the powers that be. I don't know, DNR, NRC, MUCC, maybe somebody that I have access to that you don't. And the best way to get these questions to me is to send me an email to Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. That's Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. This week's Ask Avery question is not a direct result of an email, though. It's more of conversations online, particularly on my Facebook page. And I have had some emails and direct messages, too, saying, hey, did you hear about the DNR's plan to move wolves from the UP to the northern lower peninsula? Of course, that got a lot of attention. Unless there's something going on that I don't know about, this is not a DNR plan. The DNR, as far as I know, and I've reached out, has made no plans to move wolves from the UP to the northern lower. What this is, it's some talk from a UP politician, a Representative Markinen. And what he wants to do, and I'll read a part of a press release. This is from the politician's office. Public support for wolves has historically been high among Michigan's lower peninsula residents, says Markinen, a Republican from Hancock. I've heard it from lower peninsula residents themselves. They often express envy in the UP's privilege to live side by side with wolves. I urge the DNR to reestablish a viable and self-sustaining wolf population in the lower peninsula by relocating as many wolves as possible from the UP's thriving population. Did you listen closely to the news release? It's kind of a dig, kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing that we've all heard about for so many years, that people from the UP say, look, if you downstaters love wolves so much, why don't you take some of them? And a common thing is, hey, move some of those wolves from the UP down to Lansing, and we'll see how much those politicians love wolves then. Send them down to Grand Rapids. Send them down to Flint. Send them down to Detroit. Then we'll see what kind of support people have for living side by side with wolves. So there is no plan by the DNR. People tend to think that the DNR comes up with these wacky, strange, goofy plans, and they have come up with some. But moving wolves to the lower peninsula is not a DNR plan. And this isn't going to go anywhere. But this is rather, how do I describe this? I'm sure this got a great response from this politician's constituents because he expressed their concerns. I don't see it as a viable plan. I don't think it's going to happen. But it did serve to get the word out once again about the frustration that many people have in the UP of having to live with wolves, and people blame the DNR because the DNR isn't doing anything. Keep in mind, this is not a DNR issue. This is an issue at the federal level. The DNR has plans to institute another wolf hunt if and when they get approval or the court system at the federal level allows them to. I would hope that if and when we get another wolf hunt, that this time around, they do it the right way and they allow the trappers and the houndsmen to get after them too. That wasn't the case in the first hunt, and hunters fell short of the quota. Now, when Wisconsin or Minnesota had their hunt, they allowed trappers and houndsmen to get after them, and they reached their quota. If we want to do it right and control the wolf population, when we have our next Michigan wolf hunt, I'll let those two groups get involved, and I think that the numbers will be kept in check. And how many, right? That's the big question. How many wolves really are in the UP? The DNR is looking at, reevaluating might be too strong of a word. Reassessing, again, too strong of a word. But looking at altering the way that they count animals to be more representative or reflective of the actual number. We'll see where that goes. But again, there is no plan by the DNR to move wolves from the UP to the lower. That's a UP politician trying to get attention, and he did a good job of it. And good for him. He's looking out for his constituents, and that's what politicians do, so good for him. If you have a question for the Ask Avery segment, please send me an email to Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. That's Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. With your question, something you want me to answer directly or something you want me to pass along to the powers that be in the outdoors here in the great state of Michigan. My website, by the way, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. The email address, once again, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Speaking of the Yoop, when we come back after the top of the hour, in hour number 3, we're going to talk with Richard P. Smith. He is not a big fan of the DNR and NRC's talk that they might want to reduce the number of bear tags. We'll talk about that and more. And, of course, we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. That's coming up in hour 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons and Polarcraft Boats, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, Brenton USA Hunting Rifles, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Indeed, this is the big guy, Mike Avery. Thank you, Ken Hunter, by the way, for that introduction, and welcome to hour number 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show right here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network. So what are you doing? What do you have planned for this weekend? What have you done since we last talked? Anything fun? Anything outdoors? Anything hunting or fishing or shooting or trapping related? Seems like there's always something going on in our great state, isn't there? Regardless of the weather, regardless of the season. Now, Mother Nature can throw some curveballs at you. but there's always something going on. You know, as I talk to people and get out and do these events and such, and one of the common threads I hear from people is who they really like to hear on the show. And far and away, one of the favorite guests, according to you, is Richard P. Smith. People say they love to hear Richard. Richard is a fixture in the outdoor industry here in the great state of Michigan. He's an outdoor writer, photographer, videographer, hunting expert, black bear hunting expert, whitetail hunting expert, and he's not afraid to say what he thinks. And I think that's one of the reasons why you and I enjoy hearing him on the show. And he's graciously agreed to give us a few minutes again this week. Richard, welcome back. Glad to have you with us.
I'm glad to be with you, Mike.
Hey, listen, I hear, though, and I heard this from you, that you had a rough time lately. I mean, you've been out of commission. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fine now. I'm well on the way to recovery. But I was in the hospital for over a month and a half.
Oh, my gosh.
Got the COVID pneumonia.
Oh, wow.
And I was sick for a number of weeks before I actually went in, and that worsened the situation. I probably ended up in the hospital longer than I would have had I sought medical attention sooner.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm glad you're feeling better now, Richard.
Yeah.
So listen,
Me too.
Yeah, you're more glad than I am, I bet. Hey, listen,
sure.
You contacted me about an issue that you and I both have a great deal of passion for and love for, and that's the concept of or the activity of bear hunting here in Michigan. I freely admit much of what I know about bear hunting in this state I learned from you. But Richard, I would like to see, and I'm no biologist, I would like to see us have more bear tags, not less, but the powers that be, the biologists, the experts, don't agree. Where do you come down on this?
I've been lobbying for more bear licenses for a number of years now, and the DNR has proposed reducing UP bear licenses even further starting this year, and that's as the bear population is increasing. And success rates are increasing. And part of the reason they're proposing reducing licenses is they use the average of 3 years success rates to come up with estimates for future bear harvests. And that's a biased approach because when you have an increasing bear population, success rates are bound to increase, and it gives you a distorted view of what's happening. If they use the same method in the future, bear licenses are going to continue to increase or decrease, by the way, as the bear population increases, and it's not going to address the increasing bear population. One of the goals for the UP bear population stated by the DNR is to increase bear harvest slightly while still allowing the bear population to increase slowly. The current recommendations, by reducing tags further, will not accomplish that.
Anecdotally, down here in the lower peninsula, the central part of the lower, I see that the bear range is expanding. There is no doubt we're seeing more bears in the central part of the lower peninsula than we ever have. But
right.
That's not necessarily a sign of an increasing population, or is it, Richard?
It is. It's a sign of increasing bear numbers as well as increasing their range. The DNR, Cody Norton used an image during his presentation to the Natural Resources Commission that shows a dramatic increase in distribution of bears in the northern lower peninsula over the last 10 years. They are now, in 2001, the bear numbers were encompassing 13,600 square miles in the northern lower peninsula. In 2011, they only were 7,800 square miles.
Wow.
So the range is almost doubled of black bears in the northern lower peninsula.
So it's the DNR wildlife managers who have proposed this decrease to the NRC, correct?
Yes, that's correct. And they'll make a decision at their meeting at the Shanty in Bel Air on March 9th about going along with the proposals.
Yeah. So I don't mean to be selfish here, but I'm using myself as an example. I have learned that if I apply for a third season in certain parts of the UP, for example, in the Newberry district where I like to hunt, that I can at this point pretty much get a tag every other year. Would the decrease in numbers, is that going to screw me up? Am I going to have to go to every 3 or 4 years? Just me as an example of an average Michigan bear hunter.
It certainly could, Mike. They're proposing reducing bear tags for the Newberry unit by 165 a year. Huh. And that could make a difference.
Huh. Well, I find it interesting that some bear hunting groups are in favor of this and some are not. For example, I was talking to Vance Gawel in the previous hour. He's a houndsman, and he said, look, houndsmen would like to see a decrease in the number, yet bait hunters want to see an increase in numbers. So it's almost we've got bear hunters themselves not agreeing on how to handle the situation.
Well, in part of the reason for that is the different hunting methods. Hound hunters typically hunt every year, whether they draw a tag or not. They want to run their dogs, and that's what they get out of the hunt is enjoyment of seeing their well-trained hounds performing in the woods. They have a group of buddies who hunt with them, and if one or more of them draw tags, they'll let them fill the tags, but they get to hunt every year. The bait hunters, on the other hand, normally don't hunt until they draw a tag. And with the reduced bear licenses, the number of years it takes to draw those tags is increasing, has steadily increased, and it'll only get longer if they continue with the current management scheme.
Well, and as Vance told me, too, reminded me that the houndsmen actually during the training season, they don't even have to have a license. So, yeah, you're right. They're guaranteed they can hunt every year regardless.
Right, and that's part of the mindset between the two groups of hunters.
So has the NRC, from what you can tell, have they expressed interest in going along with this, or is there some hesitance on there? I mean, we won't know for sure till they meet, but do you have a gut feel on this?
No, I don't, Mike. What would help if they hear from as many hunters as possible who would like to see the permit quotas increased instead of decreased. I sent a letter to the commission already myself proposing slight increases in licenses for this year instead of decreases, and at the very least, maintaining license quotas that were in effect last year rather than reducing them.
I read your letter. You shared it with me. Very well stated, Richard, as always, and I appreciate that. And I do accept the concept of reaching out to our managers and such with our concerns. But let me ask you this. There's a bigger question here, I think, of should we let the professional wildlife managers do their job as we voted to, or do we as hunters want to get involved in promoting a social science almost, because this is what we want? Is there a dichotomy here? Are we talking out of both sides of our mouths here?
Not really. The DNR sought input from bear user groups about these proposed regulations, but they did not seek input from deer hunters on these regulations. Many deer hunters don't understand the impact bears have on deer populations in the UP through predation on fawns. The DNR was part of a 9-year study in the UP to study the impact of all predators on fawns, and they found out during that research that bears have as much impact, almost as much impact as coyotes on fawns in Iron County, for example. 19% of the radio-collared fawns in that study were taken by bears compared to 21% by coyotes. That's a high rate of predation. John Azoka, retired deer researcher, documented years ago what impact single bears can have on fawn production. He was studying deer in a square-mile enclosure at the Kusno Research Station. He had bears get in the enclosure 3 different years. During those years, fawn production was down 32%.
Wow.
Compared to only 10% when no bears were in the enclosure.
Richard, hang tight. We got to take a break, but this is an interesting concept. I want to follow up on this bear predation on the UP whitetail population. Also, we'll check in with Richard on his thoughts on UP whitetail population and how the winter is affecting that. That and more, talking with Richard P. Smith. His website is richardpsmith.com. That's richardpsmith.com. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. More coming up with Richard P. Smith right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Holland on WHTC. That's 1450 AM, 99.7 FM. You can hear us in Houghton Lake on the Twister, 92.1. And you can also hear us in Port Huron, WPHM, 1380 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by the Linwood Beach Marina and Campground. Linwood Beach can be your year-round Saginaw Bay fishing destination and your Mid-Michigan Tracker and Angler Quest headquarters. Don't forget about the event coming up at Linwood Beach next Saturday, March 4th. Doors open at 9 o'clock. It's kind of an open water trolling seminar with some of the captains working out of Linwood Beach. Four really big names, Captain Jeff Godey, Captain Mark Penonzak, Captain Bobby Sullivan, and Captain Jason Graham, all talking about big water trolling techniques, how to rig your boat. Really sounds like a lot of fun. The website for Linwood Beach Marina is linwoodbeachmarina.com. That's linwoodbeachmarina.com. We're talking right now with Richard P. Smith about a lot of things, but so far we've been talking about bears, bear numbers, bear tags. And Richard, before the break, you were saying that the impact of bear predation on whitetail fawns is bigger than most people realize.
Exactly. And that was confirmed during a predator-prey study that was conducted for a number of years in the UP, in the low snowfall zone, medium snowfall zone, and high snowfall zone. Bears were found to have the biggest impact in the medium and high snowfall zones. And during that study, they fitted an adult male black bear with a GPS collar that had a video camera. That video camera confirmed that one bear killing 3 fawns during the spring, during the breeding season. And the fact that the bear breeding season coincides with when most fawns are born increases the opportunity for bears to kill fawns, because when they're young and soon after they're born, they just try and hide. Bears easily stumble across those fawns, and they're easy to catch and kill.
So it's the newborns, the young ones.
Yeah. Under 2 weeks is most of the fawns that they kill.
Huh. Okay. So then your premise is that, look at, if we're talking about wildlife management, the DNR should be polling whitetail hunters as well as the bear hunters on what they want to see done with bear tags.
Not only that, they should be taking into account the data that was collected during a research project they were involved in. You know, they estimate current bear numbers in the UP of bears that are at least a year old at between 10,000 and 11,000. That's more than 30,000 fawns that are killed by bears every year as fawns. That's a minimum number, 30,000.
Well, the UP whitetail herd can't take those kind of numbers, not with everything else that's going on.
Exactly. And a lot of hunters are focusing on wolves to try and get the DNR to establish a harvest season for those, but that's currently out of their hands. Even when the DNR had state control, they weren't doing a thing. So they're wasting their energy on wolves when we can do something to increase the bear harvest and reduce those predators from taking more fawns.
Okay, of wolves, bears, coyotes, and even eagles, what's the biggest predator? Is it wolves?
Coyotes have taken the greatest number because there are more coyotes than there are wolves in the UP. But bears are certainly take their share in the northern part of the UP.
So how is the UP whitetail herd doing, or is it so specific to different areas that it's hard to make a blanket statement?
Well, it varies a lot, but the northern counties of the UP have the lowest deer densities. Some deer hunters claim there's only one doe per square mile or one doe per 4 square miles based on their sightings. But those estimates are so far off, it's ridiculous. During this predator-prey study and deer movement study the DNR have been involved with, they've estimated deer numbers in various parts of the UP. And the lowest deer numbers they've come up with through scientific estimates is like 10 deer per square mile or 8 or 9 per square mile. Nothing like what some hunters claim it is.
Okay, so when we're talking about UP whitetails, is it predators, is it winter weather, or is it habitat that has the biggest impact on the number of deer?
Winter weather has the biggest impact, but certainly predators, predation figures in there too, and habitat also plays a role. So they all play somewhat of a role, but winter's the most important.
Well, and unfortunately, winter's one of those things we have no control over.
Correct. Fortunately, winter hasn't been that bad in the UP. We've had a lot of mild breaks in the weather to melt some snow, but how the winter ends up is the most important thing.
Yeah, you've always said that. It's when you get into March and April, that's really the deciding factor?
Exactly.
Let's talk about habitat, though. Deer yards. That's one thing that John Azoga talks about a lot, is that we've lost these deer yards, and it takes a long time to rejuvenate these areas, and I'm not sure there's a lot being done in that direction, is there?
Well, there's a deer habitat work group that is working with private landowners to help improve winter deer yards. However, our current deer harvest regulations has encouraged the protection of too many deer from hunters, like antler point restrictions on combination deer licenses, bow hunters in most of the UP not being able to shoot does. It results in trying to carry too many deer through winters, which has degraded our winter habitat more than anything else. So whatever habitat work the DNR is trying to coordinate by carrying too many deer, it's offsetting that type of work. So we need to get better harvest regulations for deer in the UP in order to accomplish anything in improving winter habitat for deer.
And still no movement towards allowing late-season UP hunters to use crossbows?
It's still illegal.
Which is crazy.
But we need to change that so it is possible, and we need to make antlerless deer legal to bow hunters throughout the UP as well.
In the UP, you can still bait and feed, and are there still fairly large-scale feeding programs across the UP?
In the Keweenaw, and a lot of private landowners feed deer too.
And okay, you mentioned private landowners doing habitat restoration. Is that where the key is going to be? Is this something that the private landowners are going to have to just take control and do it, or can we rely on the feds? Can we rely on the feds and the state to do that?
Well, it takes all of them, because some of the winter habitat is in state and federal ownership. I think they're doing, at least the state is doing what they can in that regard, and they're working with large private landowners to try and get them to improve habitat as well. But here again, we need to get deer population numbers in those winter yards down to what that habitat can support in order for that to work.
So what else is on your mind, Richard? What else you been thinking about this?
I've been thinking about getting back out in the woods, which I haven't been able to.
Yeah, that's a long time to be laid up, especially for a guy like you.
Exactly. That's about all I've been thinking about, is trying to get back out there and do what I used to be doing every day.
Which is following deer and documenting deer. And
that's right.
Yeah.
I had there was a 7-point buck in an area where I photographed deer. I was hoping to monitor when he lost his antlers, but I obviously was not able to do that.
Have you ever captured a drop or a shed, a whitetail dropping or shedding their rack on film or on camera?
almost. I had an 8-point, a 3.5-year-old 8-point I was following. I found an antler he shed when I got to the area I was photographing him in. So he'd already lost one antler, and I finally located him, and he walked away from me following a doe and a fawn, and when he just got out of sight, he shook his head and lost the second antler. But I did get his reaction. I was able to get on film his reaction after he lost that second antler, and he was shaking his head and moving his head as though he knew the antler was gone, and it almost like it hurt.
It's funny.
So I did capture that.
I've seen that reaction a couple of times. It's like, wait, for the last several months there's been something up there, and now it's gone. This is weird.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you a turkey hunter at all, Richard?
I used to be, but I haven't been in recent years. After I completed the CBM Grand Slam with a turkey that qualified for state records, I kind of backed off on turkey hunting.
And remind me, for folks who don't know, the CBM Grand Slam is?
Getting a deer, bear, elk, and turkey, one of each that qualifies for state records.
In the same year or not?
No, it's almost impossible.
That's what I was thinking.
To get in the same year. And, of course, the elk is the most difficult because you not only have to wait to draw an elk license, you have to get a bull with antlers large enough to qualify for state records.
What year did you get that bull?
I think it was 1990.
Wow.
But I can't, maybe it was 99. I'd have to look to be sure.
Well, there can't be that many people in Michigan who have done that.
And there are about a dozen, I believe.
Really?
I was the second person to accomplish it, and there's been a number since then. Like I said, about a dozen people are on that list.
Wow. So when you got that coveted bull tag, was that a goal? You wanted to shoot a book bull? Or
yes. And in fact, I started hunting with a muzzleloader, and I came darn close to shooting a state record non-typical bull with a muzzleloader. I snow tracked the bull, and he was always in thick aspens. I had him at 50 yards at one point, but there were so many stems in the way, there was no way I could get a shot and make sure the bullet would make it to him. I eventually caught up to him where I thought I had an opening, and I took a shot, and I hit him, but it proved to be a non-fatal hit. The bullet must have been deflected. I followed him for miles after taking that shot, and there was some blood, but I never caught up to him again.
Well, Richard, listen.
Then I switched to my 30-06.
And got the job done.
Took a
Richard, it's always a pleasure. I'm glad you're feeling a little bit better, and I'll look forward to having another conversation with you soon.
Sounds good, Mike.
All right. Richard P. Smith, his website is richardpsmith.com, richardpsmith.com. Noted whitetail expert, black bear hunting expert, and just an all-around good guy. And you have told me that he's one of your favorite guests here on the show, and I appreciate hearing that, and I appreciate Richard's time. We'll take a break. Lots more coming up right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Ludington on News 97.98, 98.7 WLDN. You can hear us just up the road in Manistee, WMLQ 97.7 FM. And you can hear us on the other side of the state in Saginaw on WSGW AM and FM, 790 AM, 100.5 FM. I'm in the studios of WSGW right now. Charlie Rudin here with me. Charlie, the weather is just bad enough where the crowds are not... I know it's disappointing to you, but you know they're here in spirit. It's just Mother Nature is preventing the normal crowds from showing up and cheering on Charlie. But they'll be back. Charlie, appreciate your help. Also, Pat Johnson, the two guys who help you out here in the studio, help to make the Outdoor Magazine radio show possible. So I have to give them all the appropriate acknowledgement. Also have to give acknowledgement to the companies that make this show possible, including this segment brought to you by VersaSkins, Michigan-based VersaSkins. The owner, Paul Perone, has come up with a great concept. He says, rather than spend a bunch of money on different sets of hunting clothes, why not buy one good quality set and then snap on and zip on an outer liner of a different shell, a different camo pattern. You can go from, blaze orange to snow camo to upland camo, whatever you need. And it takes literally less than a minute to snap on and zip on that outer shell. The website is versaskins.com. That's versaskins.com. Paul Perone of Versaskins will be at our big Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner at not at Bay Valley this year, at the Great Hall this year, coming up Saturday, March 4th. And there will be a full set of Versaskins clothes available for bid on our online auction. Details on that coming up. Let's see. So I've got the Trinity Monitor Dinner Saturday, March 4th. But before that, Friday the 3rd, I will be at First Baptist Church in Clare. And then coming up later into March, Wednesday the 22nd, we're going to do a Wednesday night live at the Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch. So some things to keep on your calendar, as they are on mine. What else? Outdoor-rama going on this weekend at the Suburban Collection Showplace in Novi. Hoping the weather will hold. They get a good crowd for that. I hope to be down there. I don't know what day, and it will depend on the weather and the schedule, but I hope to get down there. That's always a lot of fun. Let's see. A little snowstorm going through now, but springtime is not far away. I have seen dead skunks, no red-winged blackbirds yet. The geese on the pond behind the house are getting ready for nesting season. They're pushing each other around, squawking at each other, honking at each other. They've got their prime nesting sites all staked out. And I wonder, I think this is probably the case. I have no way of proving this, but I feel like the same birds nest at the same spot every year, because there are certain spots on the pond where there's always a nest every year, and I just feel like it's the same birds coming back. Maybe if I spray painted one of them orange, I could find out for sure. Spray paint the darn things orange and get them to go away. Steelhead fishing across the state is doing pretty well. I'm getting lots of cool pictures of big, beautiful steelhead. By the way, if you want to share your outdoor adventures with me, I would love to have you do that. I'll post them on the Facebook page. Your pictures, your videos, your stories. That's how I found out about Vance Gawel and that dog that he gave to a buddy, and the guy abandoned him, and Vance was able to rescue it. I put that story on the Facebook page. Got a great response. It's harder and harder these days for you as I'm going to say the term outsider, but I don't mean it this way, and hear me out. For an outsider to post on my Facebook page. It used to be you could click a button and you could make a post, and I could see it immediately, and with one click I could share your post. It used to be very, very easy. These days, it's getting harder and harder, and it doesn't do any good to complain to Facebook. They're not going to listen. You can't get through to anybody anyway. So I think the best way these days is to send your content to me in an email. Send your pictures, your videos, your stories. Send them to me in an email. Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. That's Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. That way I'm more, well, for one thing, I will see it because I always check my emails and I don't always check my Facebook messages as I should. So send me an email to Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Attach your pictures or video, and then I can share it. It might take me a little longer to get to it. I apologize for that in advance, but I think it's the best way around the continually evolving world of social media. Speaking of social media, I'm on Facebook primarily. I'm also quite active on Instagram as well. Some of my posts get shared to Twitter. I never post directly to Twitter. I'm also doing quite a bit of stuff on YouTube these days, even though I don't have a TV show anymore. The Wednesday night lives go up. Well, they're live on YouTube. The behind the mic segments from the radio studio every Wednesday morning go on YouTube. And I also put a version of the podcast on YouTube as well. It's not a video version, but people still listen to the show on YouTube as well. So Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, we'll wrap it up as we do each week with wild game chef extraordinaire, Dixie Dave Minar. I had the chance to see Dave here a couple of weeks ago He's looking good. He admits to getting a little bit bored, but we're going to put him to work here next week for the Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auction. He is catering that event. I'm looking forward to that. Dave also tells me he is available for catering, primarily for church groups, but civic groups as well. Listen, you can always if you don't know how to get in touch with Dave, you can get to him through me. Send me an email, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. We'll take that break, wrap it all up with Dixie Dave coming up right here on Outdoor Magazine. Welcome back to Outdoor Magazine. I sure appreciate you being along with us. I truly, truly mean that. I also appreciate the lineup of guests we have each week. I think I think we find some interesting people to talk with every week. Hopefully they have a lot of information and news and maybe a little bit of entertainment. And you know that I like to wrap up each week's show with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar, who's with us once again. David, welcome back. How are you?
I'm very good, Mike. Enjoying the onslaught of winter again, I guess.
It seems like last week when we were in the studio, we were waiting on a snowstorm, and this week as well. But hey, it's going to end. It's going to end here eventually.
Sooner or later. Hope it's sooner.
Yeah, that's for sure. I'm looking forward to our big dinner next weekend, David.
Me too. I'm getting everything in readiness as we speak.
We are completely sold out on that, so folks will not be able, if they don't have a ticket, they won't be able to get in the door. However, our silent auction this year is also available online. If people keep an eye on my Facebook page, I'll give them details on that too.
Wow. Well, I see on Woods-n-Water there was a heck of a big walleye caught down in
15.5 pounds. I haven't seen the picture yet. I'm going to get a copy of that on the way home. I can't wait to see that.
Oh, my word. It looks like just a big old hog.
See, that's what you and I are going to catch this summer now that you're retired. We're going to go out in Saginaw Bay and we're going to catch a midsummer 15-pound fish. And if that happens, we're going to play the lottery because that's what we're going to win.
Okay, I'll be your mate.
All right, I'm looking forward to it. How about a recipe, David?
Okay, I got some comfort food, seeing so it's winter's back a little bit. It's a squirrel with sauerkraut. Really a nice, hearty dish. So you need anywhere 3, 4, 5 squirrels, whatever you got, and cut them by 8. Make sure you check for shot. There's no shot. If you're using a shotgun, make sure there's no shot in it. 22, check. Make sure you get all the bloodied meat off. You'll need a couple large cans of your favorite kind of sauerkraut, a couple of medium onions diced fine, and 2 stalks of celery diced fine the same way. I like to put caraway seed in my sauerkraut dishes, but it's an optional. I just like that flavor. Lots of fresh ground pepper all over the meat before you do anything with that. And then you could have maybe a spoon or so of base, and then I like to put bacon in this dish too. So you're going to take maybe 6, 7 slices of bacon, smoked bacon, dice it up kind of small, and put that on the side for now. 3 to 4 cloves of garlic, a half a cup of white wine, or you could use water. It's up to you. I like to use Granny Smith apples in this because they hold up real good to cooking. And you want to peel them, core them, slice them thin, a couple ounces of schnapps, apple schnapps, and if you don't use apple jelly, then that'll give you more flavor, a little bit of flour and some olive oil. So after you get the meat cut up by 8, you're going to take in a real nice large pan. You're going to brown the bacon slowly and kind of just so you don't burn it, but just nice and golden brown. Remove and put that on the side. Save the bacon grease. Roll the squirrel meat in flour. Brown it on all sides. And you can do this in small batches so you don't have to crowd it together too much. Remove the meat, put it in like a nice big oven-proof casserole, and then just a little bit, not even quite brown, just saute the onions, the celery, and the garlic. And if you need a little bit more oil, by all means, add a little bit more of olive oil. When you're done with this, add a couple of heaping tablespoons of flour, and this is going to make a roux. You want to mix it well, with whatever oil is in the pan, then add the wine, and then whisk it real good so you don't have any lumps in this until it's nice and smooth. So I like to rinse the sauerkraut under cold running water, and it removes a lot of the salt from this, So, and then add that to the mixture here, and put in a cup of hot water or so, stir into the dish, and it should be a little thick but not overly thick, and then add the spices, the bacon, and if you're going to use schnapps, flambe that, mix it really well, and then once it comes up to a nice boil, add the apple slices, and if it's a little dry, add some water to it, and then cover this up and cook it until the meat's tender and falling off the bone. It might take an hour, hour and a half, depending on the squirrels, the ages of the squirrel. Some squirrels take a lot longer to cook. And I would say serve this with small red potatoes, the little baby ones that they sell nowadays, boiled in the skin. Man, oh man, this is going to be a great dish. Wonderful for cold weather.
Oh, it sounds nice. As we get into springtime here, let's maybe start taking a turn more towards some fish recipes, maybe, Dave.
Absolutely. Squirrel season and rabbit season is going to be ending pretty soon, and so I figured I'd sneak one more in.
No, in fact, let's sneak in another rabbit dish. How about a rabbit dish next week?
Okay, I got great rabbit dishes.
Perfect. I'll look forward to that, Dave, and we'll look forward to talking to you again next week.
And I'll see you sooner than later.
I'm looking forward to that. I'll see Dave at the Big Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auction Saturday, March 4th. Of course, I'm going to be in Clare the day before at First Baptist Church. I'll be speaking there. And then later in the month, on the 22nd, we'll do a Wednesday night live at the Lumberjack Restaurant, the Forward Corporation Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch. So some things to put on your calendar. Well, they're on my calendar. I'd love to have them put them on yours, have you put them on yours as well. If you can't join me in person, please join me for Wednesday Night Live every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock or Behind the Mic every Wednesday morning at 8:45. The website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. The email address, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My name is Mike Avery. The show is Outdoor Magazine, and I'll talk to you next time right here on that show known as Outdoor Magazine.